Okay, Richard, I think we're live, so I think we're ready to go if you want to kick off.
Super, great. Thank you, everybody. I'd like to introduce our webinar, Streamline Your Planning, Budgeting, Forecasting with Qlik Inphinity. This is an ultimate time and money saver. On the call today, we've got Brian Dunphy. Brian Dunphy is a senior manager at Dawn Meat, and he's going to take us through the solution of planning and budgeting and his journey regarding this entire process. On the call today, we've also got Martin Kostek, who is our CEO and founder. We've got Simon Kirby, who is our solutions director, and Guillaume Aprobota, who will be assisting with the demos, and he's our solutions architect. We can go to the next slide. So really, who is Infinity? So what Infinity does is it transforms business critical processes with your data. So we've been doing this for over 6 years. We've got over 200 customers. If you're looking for high performance, secure, governed environment that is able to run on-premise and in the cloud, Infinity and Qlik is really an unbeatable solution. If you can go next slide. Okay, so why customers choose Infinity? We've developed 3 products in the Infinity suite. We've got Infinity Forms, Infinity Flow, and Infinity Mole. Infinity Forms is a data capture tool. It gives you write-back capabilities like commenting, chatting, collaboration, adding categories, enrichment of data, adding new rows to your Qlik data, updating the Qlik data. This is really where it starts and it goes far beyond. Today, we'll be looking at planning and forecasting from a very simple to advanced use case. And really, that's what the focus of today is going to be. A big advantage is with Infinity Table is we can customize this to your defined workflow in the company. So this performs on enterprise large data. It's from your planning, your forecasting, it's extremely secure. Many innovative companies use Infinity as a low-code, no-code application to build business applications. So if we have a look at a couple of use cases, if we have a look at healthcare, we've done a solution with case management application, incident management, bank risk management, project management, asset management, portfolio management. It's really not about dashboards or chart analysis. It's about entering data. It's interacting with your data. Why do we do this with Qlik? Qlik provides a powerful platform, and it's all your data is already in Qlik. With Infinity on top of this, this provides an exceptionally powerful editing and modification platform that is super efficient. Together with Qlik, this is a great combination to build business applications. So it avoids customers having to integrate an off-the-shelf pre-built application with huge implementation costs, costs you more time, more money, needs for approval. You're testing, it's a heavyweight tool. Infinity is agile, a very quick way of getting results fast. Most companies really start with Infinity Forms, but what I'd like to do is just have a quick discussion, or I'd like to present some other use cases around Infinity Flow. So Infinity Flow is a visualization of flows and processes. This helps drive data literacy. This can be interactive. You can have action buttons. Action buttons can redirect users to other workflows, navigate users, through to new windows, especially infrequent users. It's a tool that visualizes processes from your data, that helps use cases around process analysis, as it realizes the flows within the company based on your data. Combine this with your standard, process. You can now actually see the deviations in this process of that data flow. What the difference in that data is. Measure the processes. Basically, you got unlimited measuring capabilities, KPIs, and it visualizes the data in context to the process. So a few use cases around manufacturing processes across all the product flows, from the start to the end, and all the interaction, the combinations in that process. If we have a look at financial companies, portfolio analysis, to show the entire portfolio. The third leg is our file analysis, Infinity Mole. This allows you to extract content from files. So any document file, a PDF document, a picture, it's got optical character recognition functionality. So your scans, invoices, orders. It's got built-in functionality to evaluate sensitive information, like your names, bank accounts, credit cards, identification number. It's got tens of pre-built indicators to automatically identify sensitive information. So, a simple explanation of having like a Google search engine sitting on top of all your unstructured data. Where this is important is around risk management application, your PAPAIA Act, understanding where there may be sensitive or personal identifiable information in files, emails. If you combine this, with the advanced logic like a ChatGPT, you can understand your text, even more. If we can go to the next slide, please, Simon. So really, this is some of the value drivers and the technical capabilities. We got a use case in Australia when auditor would go to a branch with a tablet. He's got Infinity installed. Clicking through the workload, you'll go to a particular question, and then even upload pictures taken and automatically save that, so that whoever's working on that application has got access to that in real time right now. So it's allowing them to generate reports directly from the application. And, this is where I'm going to now hand over to Brian Dunphy. And maybe, you could, tell us a little bit about your sales planning process in the past, and maybe take us through this journey.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Richard. Hi, everyone. Brian Dunphy is my name. I'm a senior project manager in Dawn Meats. We're a meat company in meat production and retail company in Ireland. I suppose we've a history of using spreadsheet-based forecasting, probably like a lot of businesses. The process itself wasn't that bad. It was just inefficient. So it had grown from on one of our sites. But then due to a joint venture, we kind of grew to 3 large retail plants, so about 2,000 tons of production per week. They're pretty small number of customers, so like about 11 major customers. And the old system had grown over a number of years, but obviously when we hit 3 retail plants, trying to run one system across the 3 sites proved difficult when you're dealing with spreadsheets. So the old system was people would enter the forecast into these spreadsheets, and we would pull those into Qlik, and that allowed us to join it with our MoveX master data, actual sales data, and then report on the outputs. I suppose some of the problems we had with that is just the inefficiency of Excel, prone to errors. You're relying on somebody typing in an alias code for your blue codes, someone entering incorrect codes, plus just it being cumbersome. And someone, if you're responsible for an account, you're going into a spreadsheet with 200 lines, 52 columns. It's very intimidating and not easy to use, and you end up just dragging columns to the right, and not for the best will in the world, putting a lot of effort into the numbers. So yeah, another thing then is because of that, we had difficulty trusting the numbers and really had no idea how accurate we were with our forecasting. And then you have these silos within the business that create their own forecasts because they can't trust the forecast, which is you end up with the meat buyers have one forecast, the packaging team have another forecast, and the commercial team have another forecast.
So
Sorry,
Brian, just to be clear for the sake of the audience, are we talking about forecasting projected sales into these major customers? So essentially, you had account managers working with those customers, and they needed to project the sales to each of those customers in terms of the packaged goods that you guys sell to them. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's in our retail business. But we also supply into our retail business from our primary processing business.
Okay.
So it moves down the supply chain. And depending on the customer, some customers would provide us with excellent information and other customers would provide us with no information.
Okay.
So it ranged. Customer A would give you detailed forecasts, say, for the next 6 weeks and the following week of orders, expected orders. Other customers just send you the order the day before and expect delivery. So it changes based on the retailer.
So
with the obvious challenges.
Pretty difficult. Yeah, it was pretty difficult to actually forecast just how much produce you needed to make to meet demand, right? Because then your retail plants that are making these things, it's very difficult. They've got to hold more stock than perhaps they need, right?
Yeah, and not even, it's probably something unique to the food industry is you can't just hold stock. So, it's production. So, and a lot of this stuff has maturity windows. So you need 28-day aged beef. You need to know 4 weeks out what you're going to produce.
Yeah.
So it's difficult if the customer isn't going to tell you until 2 days out what they need.
Okay.
And similarly for packaging, labels, films, trays, there's a supply lead in for all those. So yeah, the guy entering the forecast onto his 200-row spreadsheet has a lot riding on his numbers.
What were other problems of the old system?
That's the main problems, really. Just the inefficiency of it and difficulty in trusting the numbers. Like from a business point of view, the problems led further down the line of that, so that there were stock shortages, customers being shorted, or product being thrown away, waste from labels that were misused because we thought we needed more. So it had a massive impact further downstream.
Mm-hmm. So Brian, what made you then choose Qlik Inphinity? What was it that drove you towards that solution?
It was probably a combination of just those issues coming to a head more and more times where there were, problems, he said, she said type things and miscommunications. Also then, I suppose we had the data in Qlik, so you could see a solution. Like I said, the process itself was fairly mature and it was pretty good. It was just the inefficiencies that killed us. So we could see a solution in our mind's eye, kind of that the data was in Qlik, but we just needed a way for people to be able to interact with it. So it was obvious then for us that if you could people would say to me, like, if I could just enter that number in the Qlik application without having to jump out to the spreadsheet. So that's what made us kind of think, okay, well, how do we achieve that? Also then, I suppose that issue of the 200 lines. So, we wanted to move to kind of a suggest and accept model for the commercial team with statistical algorithms, bucketing products into groupings and suggesting numbers that the team go in and approve. And like we had an interesting anecdote on that was one of the guys was a little bit hesitant about taking on the suggestions. So he started off with kind of 90% manual intervention where he was typing in his numbers. Anyway, but in our reporting, we gave them an accuracy and then we gave them a computer accuracy, like an algorithm accuracy. And we were beating him every week. So he was going to all this effort and then we were still more accurate if he had just left it alone. So it was a good test. And like we've recently checked and he's switched around now completely to almost 100% with the algorithm.
And the algorithm is essentially doing a forecast based on data that's being fed into it, yeah?
Yeah, if you switch on to the next slide there.
Yeah.
So again, because it's in Qlik, you can do whatever you want with the data. So we worked with the guys. We used Qlik native forecasting first, and then plugged in some Python forecasting. And what we actually do is run both in a Qlik application, and then have some back testing within the application itself, which compares which is the best model for each product, and chooses then going forward which forecasting technique to apply to each product. So it's pretty clever. If you're like, I say to some of the guys, if they're a bit nerdy and want to get into the detail, it's all there. They can go see where we bucket things into 6-week correlations, 12-month correlations, and work it out which product to, which forecasting method to use. Like we also have some clever stuff with drivers, where products, if a product A is discontinuing and it's being replaced by a variation, which happens a lot in food retail, we can use the history. We don't have to just start again. We can use the history of the previous product to drive the forecast of the new product. And things like number of stores. So you might want to use the history of the product, but it went to 1,000 stores last year. This year it's going to 1,500 stores. So you'll automatically bump it up by 50%.
Yeah.
But again, that all came about through like the agile kind of lightweight kind of nature of development of the project. It was kind of like, it became clear as we went through it and through user testing. Oh yeah, look, I have to keep updating these numbers because we're now going to 500 more stores. And we were able to say, oh yeah, look, we'll just add another form where you can add an uplift percentage against the product, and we'll use that.
So it sounds like, although you've got the predictive model, if there are demands coming in that the model isn't aware of, then you need the human element to actually then capture that and apply it. And is that when Infinity comes in? Is that how you get to the point where you want to key information into Qlik Sense as well?
Yes, exactly. So Qlik is generating those numbers, but it's only generating them into the screen there. So it suggests those numbers. So every time it runs, it will have a new number. But of course, the person who is closest to the business will have maybe extra information than just the numbers. They'll know that there's, for example, we have some weather data pulling through. They'll know that it's a particularly hot weather coming next week, so barbecue products need to be changed. Or they'll know that there's a promotional activity in the next 3 weeks, so we need to uplift those products. So it isn't enough just to work it out and throw it at people. They need that manual intervention to be able to accept it and augment the technology.
Okay, sounds good.
So that was one of the things, was this user interface that, especially with Qlik Sense, it looks and feels good for someone to be able to use, as opposed to a big clunky spreadsheet where you can't filter very nice and things like that.
So this is essentially giving the end user the ability to drill into a particular site or a particular customer, item group. So they can really, you're talking about those like 200 bits of data and lots of records. They can find these much more easily with this, I guess, right?
Yeah, because it's in QlikView, so it's just regular QlikView filters that they're using.
Yeah.
And they've used some people like to just use the big spreadsheet, take it out to Excel, paste it back in, and some of the guys that get good information from the customers will do that, so they can paste into directly on screen. Other guys would use something like some of the clever bulk actions that we have, where they'd say, look, just take everything and increase it by 10% for the next 12 weeks, or set everything to 1,000 for the next 12 weeks or whatever. So again, we try to kind of cater to everybody's needs depending on how they like to work with the data.
Yeah. Sorry, Brian, you mentioned QlikView. Is it QlikView or Qlik Sense?
Qlik Sense, sorry.
Qlik Sense. No, okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. And what's this point around item master options? What is this about?
Yeah. So one of the issues we had, I suppose, is that while our ERP system has most of the data, And we use anything that we have in our ERP system. So things like the groupings or the average weights or the packs per case. But just being able to turn on and turn off in the forecast, that was one of the issues. It's a simple thing with the spreadsheet is people would delete the row from the spreadsheet. But then we lose the history. But then if they don't delete the row from the spreadsheet, you end up with 400 rows on your spreadsheet, even though you're only using 200. So it seems like a simple thing, but just the ability to turn it on, turn it off, and it comes into the forecast or is removed from the forecast. Other things like being able to add dummy codes. So again, where we don't have a product set up in the system, but we know we're going to do like a mince item in February, but the technical team haven't gotten to create the code. So we can add a master item directly in here to again, augment the master data. And then when the real item comes along and is set up with the technical team, we can just turn off our dummy code and add in the real item.
So this is essentially letting you create data that flows into the data model that then influences the actual predictions that people are making, right? So it makes that process easier.
Yeah. So data that doesn't exist in our ERP system, you can just create that row in your forecast manually.
Nice.
Other things like seasonality. So again, being able to change the behavior of products, whether they're an all-year product or a summer product or a winter product, they behave slightly differently. So you can manipulate that directly within the system rather than having to go out to something else.
Excellent. So you've got this concept of accuracy reporting is with imprinting. What element of this does this play in the process?
Yeah, so once a week we kind of report, and we decided 4 weeks out was our metric. You can, within the application, you can change it to 1 week out, 6 weeks out, 12 weeks out, whatever. But we decided kind of our key metric was 4 weeks out that we would judge kind of our performance on. And because it's in Qlik, again, we just use imprinting to distribute this report, and it's like everyone's Bible. They wait for the Wednesday morning report. While us kind of Qlik devotees always try to get people into the application, some people just like getting the email. You get the email on the Wednesday, it has all the detail that you need. You can see the summary of the performance. That's just one screen there, but we can drill down into each site and see, is there particular cuts that are causing us problems or particular customers that are causing us problems? And it really drives action each week to kind of improve and find out what happened, why it happened. And this is one thing that I mentioned at the start. Like, we had no idea how accurate we were. And now this has driven conversations, back to our packaging suppliers, where we're sending this information back to them now, and driving kind of stock on hand decisions. We're spending millions and millions every week on packaging and ingredients. So this is really helping us for those conversations, kind of to say, right, well, we don't need to hold 10 weeks stock because we're this much more accurate. So we can hold 4 weeks stock, and that allows us to be much more agile on our production decisions and our purchasing decisions. So we're not tying up cash, buying a whole load of stock, and then throwing things away.
Yeah.
So like, for the project cost, I won't give the numbers or whatever, but like, I would say this project paid for itself probably in a matter of months.
Wow.
With improved efficiencies across the scale of our business.
And has the adoption been good? Are you finding that people that you want to use it are using it? Yeah,
everybody is. Yeah. That was one of the worries, obviously, with any IT project is you build something that you're so proud of, and you throw it out there, and you check the logs, and you're the only person that's been in there, and we've all been there.
Yeah.
But this has, everyone loves it. Like we've got very few support calls. The odd addition that we need to make, but and that's one of the things, the beauty of having it in Qlik, is that a lot of those changes and those like tweaks, we can take on the support ourselves, because we do our own Qlik development in-house. So it doesn't feel like it's a a solution that we've bought and we need to raise a support ticket and have a lead time to get some extra development done. It's generally something we can tackle ourselves and just handle. Yeah.
Oh, good point. Good stuff. So you mentioned something about accuracy reporting with step forecasts. What does that mean?
It was a little report that we had in our old system, and it was one that was kind of an unheralded kind of report that takes weekly snapshots. So again, because this is in Qlik, we QVD store down all of our forecasts each week, and it settles a lot of arguments over when did such a thing happen. So you can see on the screen there, we just highlight with colors when there was bigger changes. These are obviously ones that are being auto-generated because the numbers aren't even. But what it does is it allows everyone across the business to get back in and see what happened and when. So that's each week there for a couple of products, what the number was. So week 47, you can see then what the actual is at the end. And generally what you see is like the algorithm is changing slightly as it gets new information based on updated sales figures or weather data or whatever drives the forecast. But because it's in Qlik, we have a planning version of this application that our supply chain can see. So they're not on the retail side, they're on the primary processing side. So generally what the arguments would go is that I say like, okay, you told me you needed 10 ton of product. And then Simon says, no, I actually said 15 ton of product. And then we just both look at the application. You go, no, we can see here what you said. Last Wednesday, you changed that forecast to 15 ton or whatever.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So it's just full visibility across the supply chain, really.
Yeah. So Brian, I'm conscious of the time, and I'm also conscious that obviously you weren't able to show a demo of the system. Obviously, it's live data. It wouldn't be appropriate for you guys to show it. Before we hand over to Martin, who I think we have a kind of version that we've created that is a demo version of what you have. So it obviously got demo data, but it does some of the things that you've built in-house. What was the last point around the kind of the benefits and the value that you've achieved? Just we can end on this slide and then we can hand over and we can show the audience like a demo version of what you've built. So what would you say were the kind of the key improvements and value that you've achieved over the last few years with this?
Yeah, I've probably mentioned them all there just in passing as we were going through it. That just the fact that people know now how accurate we are and we can use that number to drive improvements throughout the business. The fact that there's full visibility now across the supply chain. It's not like the primary guys are dealing with one number and the retail guys are dealing with another number. Simple things like we created a budgeting version, which is now in the same system. So the finance guys are using just a tweaked version. So we basically take a snapshot of the forecast. And just the sentiment kind of from the guys, they like going in and using the tool and playing with it and seeing the accuracy and making changes rather than the chore of once a week going into the spreadsheet, really. So
fantastic.
Yeah, that's it.
It sounds like as you mentioned the benefits paid for the solution quite quickly. I'd imagine that over time you're actually managing to reduce waste, maybe reduce costs, and certainly be more efficient. So all of those things are going to be win for everybody, which is great news. Excellent. Just one point from me. Obviously, we have many customers that use Infinity and Qlik Sense to do planning. This is just a small number of those. Brian, thank you so much for talking about what you've done within Dawn Meets. It's absolutely superb. It's brilliant to hear the value that you've applied. So I'm going to stop sharing now. I'm going to hand over to Martin. Martin, hopefully you'll be able to share your screen and talk a little bit about this from a demo point of view. Handing over to you.
Thank you very much. Sharing my screen. Hope you can see it now.
Yep, that's good. Thank you, Martin.
Yeah, thank you very much. So Brian, thank you very much for this presentation and really for sharing this amazing story. It's really exciting, and it's one of my favorite applications that I really love to present and share among people because it's really inspiring. So maybe before I just jump, I have to maybe refresh this because I had it open for quite some time. So I just log in again. So maybe before I just jump into the practical presentation, you summarized the benefits. What was maybe from your perspective the real money saver, right? So I understand forecasting accuracy was the core focus of the solution, right? So and you also mentioned efficiency and in the production and so on. So where do you see the actually the financial items that actually where you save the money that actually this project paid for from your perspective?
Yeah, it's the three main things. One is I suppose just the efficiency from the commercial team. So there were, people spending hours and hours every day just typing on spreadsheets, trying to maintain this forecast. So now that's a far easier process for them. So there's that time, but that's probably a small saving. It's just a man day or whatever a week. But the real benefit, I suppose, is in waste of both ingredients and packaging. So if we don't know what's happening, then we need to buy things late, and you have increased pricing from suppliers. You have courier costs to get packaging down, but also because of the meat industry, you miss sales and strained relationships with customers because they want X amount of product and we can't deliver it to them because we needed to know 28 days ago that we needed to supply that product. So we noticed our service level with our main customers has increased. We're hitting delivery targets just because we know in advance to a better extent. Things change so quickly that you're never going to get to like 100% certainty, but we're better than we were. So like our costs of wastage have been reduced and mitigated by just knowing better what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Yeah, so that's really cool. So I'll present this application. I'll walk you through. By all means, just Brian, feel free to interrupt me and just share any words because obviously you're the author together with my colleague Radovan Oreski, who could not be here, but yeah, so he's basically built this application together. So I'll share it and let's see. So yeah, what you can see here in this demo application, you can see basically sites, customers, and items based on which the planning actually is done. Obviously, if you're doing the planning, you would appreciate to have some information, right, and additional information about these individual items. Maybe seeing some further parameters, KPIs here, looking at the actual week, looking at the previous year, the performance in the previous year, maybe some percentual change, maybe some 6-week average, so 6-week year over year, various parameters that are important for the planner to know when they are going to make some estimates about the future, right? So this is basically looking at how much we've actually performed in the current weeks. Obviously, this table is quite dynamic from the technical perspective, so you can show these fields and hide these fields. It's very important to make it easy and simple for the end user, and not to overwhelm the end user with some additional features that they will not need, right? So that's why we built actually just these features which are really necessary. And then these two buttons actually show some extended parameters linked to the forecasted weeks. So looking at the week 19, 20 in this demo application, looking at the previous year value in that particular week, and looking at the projected week figure, right? And Brian, as far as I know, this is a very complex algorithm behind this number. It's just the absolute simplification, because in the end we see a number, which is cool, right? But there is quite a complex algorithm behind this, and you actually figured out there is a link between weather forecast and the planning of the sales, and the sales performance, right?
Yeah, that's one of the drivers. Again, I didn't get into the what percentage or where how much of a driver it is. But yeah, like for particularly for certain ranges like barbecue products, if there is like a heat wave, that will get picked up in the algorithm, along with the 6-week correlation, 12-month correlations, history of other products. So again, that's all built into the algorithm that Radovan worked on.
Yeah. So this way, basically, a sales planner can basically add these values here simply. They can save these values immediately by clicking these buttons. Once I click Save button, all these values are immediately available to everyone who has access to this table without having to reload the model. This is very important because it's necessary to work with these values in real time and see who has updated which values, and also make sure that you do not update values that other person has already updated. And for this, it is necessary not to wait for the reload, but to be able to see these values. So that's possible here. But what I would like to show here is also the flexibility of the tool, because if I go to bulk adjustments, right? So these here in bulk adjustments, you will see the functionality, which is basically built on request. So let's say I would like to increase these values here by 5%, so I can just pick the function increase at 5%, and I'm increasing by 5%. Here I would like to decrease by 3%. I just type 3, decrease, and I'm decreasing these values by 3%. Maybe I would like to level these values at whatever 5,500, because I'll have some information that this particular customer will be buying the same amount every week. So I said 5,500 equal, save, and once I hit save, everything is saved properly, and it is part of the application. So these features, again, I would maybe highlight the advantage of Infinity in this use case. It actually does not force anybody to any unnecessary features, right? So everything that you can see can be basically built as needed in terms of the workflow, can be adjusted in terms of the particular workflow which needs to be actually executed. And of course, if I would like to plan more weeks, I can just use this slider and actually extend the amount of weeks that I'm going to forecast or decrease, depends. And what I also like here is this functionality, the summary periods here. So maybe I can make a summary per items over quarters, and I just click generate, and this basically shows me the summary, how much I've planned in terms of kilograms and amounts. And I can go and look at the Outlook analysis, which basically redirects me to the different sheet here, spreadsheet, more like a sheet, dashboard. Now I can see the forecasts. I can see how much we've actually sold, how much we have planned, and I also love this chart here because it's showing along with the actual sales and forecast. It shows also the weather forecast. So it actually shows some parameters that have influence on the sales performance here. And as long as I've spoken to Radovan, and he mentioned to me that basically the ultimate outcome of this application is this table here, because this table calculates the required say inputs from the whole production process, right? So this is how much it has to be produced over time from these particular I would say elements in the production process. So yeah, that's from me. Brian, do you have any thoughts around this, or feel free to add anything that I did not cover? I just try to
just that section there on the bottom is the raw material spec. So basically, every retail item will have a cut of beef that it needs to come from. So that's another master data item that we have, are all of our beef, our recipes, we call them. So the fact that a retail product will be made up of, say, 95 VL or a rump, an Angus rump, or a Hereford loin or whatever. So it allows us to accumulate the fact that maybe 200 finished products have a specific raw material associated with them. And that's what the meat buyers, then, rather than having to collate that all manually, that's all done for them. through the fact that they have this additional form that allows us to maintain our recipes, and that gives us a roadmap for going forward to creating a full bill of materials, kind of a lightweight kind of bill of materials to move to films and packaging, similar, because that's basically what we're doing for the raw material.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. So basically, Simon, back to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Brian. That's brilliant. Really nice demo. So we're going to hand over now to my colleague, Guilherme, and Guilherme is going to talk us through a couple of other planning applications that we've got, some nice demos and some clever things that we've recently been able to do that, and also that Guilherme's been able to build for some of our customers and partners. So Guilherme, over to you, my friend.
Okay, great. Well, great to be here with you guys, and really nice story, Brian. It's great to know how guys are using Infinity. So let me show some other features that we have that people maybe are not very use it or don't know that it's possible. So I will start by sharing my screen here in a planning and budgeting app. Okay, so companies, they need to plan things, they need to budget, and this normally happens with multiple spreadsheets, right? So normally, as you said, you have multiple people working with different numbers, and there's always someone that's not going to agree with the number. So instead of having all these spreadsheets all over the company, we can centralize everything in Qlik, and everyone will have access to the same data. We can see when it was edited, when did the changes, and who did the changes as well. So imagine that you could have everything centralized here. People would just come in here in the dashboard, change the numbers like this, click save, and there you go. Everyone will see the same values. There is no confusion, no conflict, and it's much simple. It's much better, right? One thing that is also quite interesting is that, as you can see here on the top, I have 2 sessions in this spreadsheet, which means that 2 users are using the same forms. And you could think, well, what would happen if one of these other users is changing something here? So I'm going to show you what happens. I have here in my second screen, in my second monitor, another session. So I will start changing some numbers here. Okay, like I'm doing this right now. As you can see, this part now is a little bit gray, which means that I can't edit because someone else is editing this part. If the other user is now changing something in the other one, in the other row, same thing here will happen. So I can see now that someone else joined, which is Martin. I can even see the name. So I have 2 sessions here with my user and 1 session with Martin. If I click save in my end, I will release the ones that I was editing. So I just click here, save. Well, there we go. We have 1 released, and now the other one will come through now. So it's much easier. Now the values are updated. We can reload the app, and the values will be all refreshed, right? And not only that, you can also control who should be able to edit that or not. So as you can see here on the top, I have these records that they are locked. And this is because I have this approved field set up like this. So if I change this one, and let's say that I want to change your Q3 for, I don't know, 80,000, I can see the calculations coming through already. Same thing here with another number. And now after doing that, I want to lock this Italy one. Okay, so Italy is here. I have the target set as 125. Now if I click here in update, it will reload the app, and in probably like 2 minutes, not 2 minutes, sorry, 2 seconds, or it's very quickly, very fast. So there we go. Now we have new numbers. Italy is here with with 693, which is what we inputted in here. So we can control, we have everything already here, and we can see who changed that the last time. Okay, let me just go back here to check if I'm sharing. Okay, everything's fine. Another nice thing is that this can also be implemented in the Qlik Cloud. So it works basically the same way. I can even show you another example, which is a very similar one. And as you can see, I have the same feature. In this case here, the user type is set to salesman. So let's say that you want to hide certain fields from these users. You can do that because they can't control who would be locking or unlocking these fields. Now, if I'm the director, I want to have control. I want to be able to say, well, these numbers here are fine. I don't want anyone to touch on that. So I just click here, we can recalculate, and no one will be able to change exercise ball in Finland. Okay, it will just do a reload, and in some seconds, it will be locked, and no one else will be able to just change the values like this. And this is Qlik Cloud. So the good thing about it, or the great thing about it, is that we can put this together with automation. So I can edit the values, click here, define a recipient, and send a report, a PDF or a PPT with all the charts, all the values updated to my boss or to whoever I want to. Just click here in next. This will start the automation process, export the report, and send it to the recipient, which is really good. Another feature that most people don't know about Infinity is that we can also comment on the dashboard. So if I click here, I can analyze everything that we already inputted in the dashboard, in the previous section, in the input values data section, and I can comment on that. So if I want to open this thread, I can see and put some analysis. I can add snapshots here, and the other users will also see that. So they can go back here, reply to the comments, just putting here new comment, test, click save, and this will be shared with the other users. Okay, we can even tag people. We can add images. So let's say that I want to just do like a quick snapshot here, copy, paste it somewhere else, just doing here a new comment, paste it in here and add some comments. So this will be shared with my other colleagues that have access to this dashboard. Okay. And well, let me show you one other thing, which is like a very advanced case, but to show you that what is possible and what's not. Okay. So I've been working on this demo, and as you can see, let me just hide these fields here first. These columns here are coming from a data model. So we are analyzing a store with shower curtains, soap dispensers, toothbrush holders, and all this is coming, let's say, from an ERP or some system. Okay, so this is in the data model, and we can add certain fields to forecast or to project the values. Okay, not only can we do that, but we can also aggregate and do a top-down distribution or bottom-up aggregation. As you can see here on the bottom, I have 100. I have the price, which is multiplied by the quantity, will give me the total value. So I have here 700 because it's 100 times 7. So we have 700. If I start adding here some things, I will see the calculations in real time. So it's basically a calculator. But the nice thing is that if I recalculate now, all these values will be aggregated to the top levels. So if I click here, I now see 1.8, right? And this 88 here on the top is coming from these other rows because they're also in the lowest level. And let's say that now I want to do the opposite. I want to change the upper values, the top values, and distribute to the bottom according to the proportions. So I can click here to change the level. This will unlock the cells, okay, from this top level. And I will, let's say, almost double the values. So I'll put 360, 3,600. Click here and recalculate. And now I will be able to see here, let's see, almost doubled the values. So we can play with it. Now I can go back to this lowest level, change it again, put here 3,000, recalculate, and just like do all my calculations. It's much easier to just keep everything in your spreadsheets or whatever. You can do everything already in Qlik.
Guillaume, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
I was showing this to a customer just a couple of hours ago, actually, and they thought this was very interesting. They did say to me they would like to be able to add in some comments against each row, maybe at the level 4, maybe at the level 3. At the moment, the values that you've got there allow numbers to be entered. Would it be easy to create something to let a text be entered? You don't have to show it, but just yes or no. Could we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, it's as easy as any other Qlik object. So I can just click here in Edit Sheet, go to the object, form configuration, where I have the fields. So as you can see here, I have all the editable fields. Go to the last field here and just add a new one. So let's say that we want to add the comment field. Just add it like this. There are many options here on the bottom, so I can define the type of the field, which could be a text, it could be a number, a checkbox, like this, a switch button, so we can just toggle a date. It would pop up a calendar, and we're ready to go. Just excellent. If we want to just add some comments, just click it like this, and there we go.
So people can literally add these fields, these columns, these values in the front end, as you just did there. For a Qlik developer, this looks pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we can add actions, custom actions here on the top. So if I want to add a new button on the top, I can click here and add a sequence. So let's say that we're going to add a new button. It will be here on the top. And then we set the action. So it could be a pop-up, an alert. We have multiple kinds of actions. And in this case, to display or hide these fields, we are just changing the value of variables. So just to go back here, if I click here, it will change the value of a variable and it will hide the 2025 fields. That easy. Excellent. I also have something here to set up the colors in case I want to customize that. So I have level 1, it's bluish. If I want to change and put some red, and then I can go to level 2, maybe with some yellow. Just do like that. Click and recalculate. And there we go. We can customize everything live, basically.
Customers can add their own color branding and theme to this if they want to.
Exactly.
Fantastic. We've got some great feedback already from Charlene Smith, who's one of our fabulous partners in South Africa. She's delighted to see the distribution demo. And I know, Guillaume, she was one of the... Thank you, Charlene. You were one of the people that prompted us to develop this. So thank you for that. It's really good.
I would emphasize also that adding these comments, basically adding fields like comments, is so easy that it's easy for basically any user, right? Anyone who has access to the properties panel. You don't need to use the Qlik script, right? So you can do it in the front end, and it automatically starts to write information into that particular table to which this is linked. If obviously if it's written into the file, right? If it's written in a database, you need to have the field in the database just to make sure that you have consistency in the data.
Excellent. So, guys, I'm conscious of the time. We've got about 5 minutes left. I think we probably need to go to a Q&A. I'm going to hand over back to Richard. So, Brian, Martin, Guillaume, thank you for all of that. We'll hand back to our host, Richard, and he can kind of help us do a Q&A.
Thanks, guys. If you wouldn't mind just sending your questions in the comment section, on the chat section, we can start going through some.
And before we get to these questions, I have a question because I love one functionality which we did not show. And you all know who know me which function it is. And it's the copy paste to Excel, right? So is it possible to copy data from Excel and or export data to Excel? How does it work? How does it interact with Excel?
Yeah, sure. I can take this one. I'll just go back here to share my screen and show you how easy it is. We have this button by default in the form object.
Sorry, Guillaume, you're not sharing your screen.
Oh, it's coming through, I think, probably now. Is it there? Not yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Let me try again.
Yeah, it nearly did it. There it is. There it is.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can activate this export button in the top. If I click here, it will export everything to Excel. We can do whatever we want in Excel, change the values, apply Like I'll just do a very quick demo. So I'll do random between 100 and 1000 for the first values. Just actually let me, otherwise it will just always be random. So just copy and paste. And let's say that we want to apply this times 1.15% every month. So just copy that and paste and go until December like this. Okay. So I can just copy it from Excel. That easy. Go back here and paste. It will match exactly with the columns and the rows that we have. As you can see, it copied the exact same interval. And if I click here and save, it will just save everything, and all the other users will have access to the same values that I'm looking at.
Great. And as you can imagine, this feature was actually developed based on a customer request, right? Someone really desperately needed it to bridge the Excel world with the world of governed data analytics and planning, comparing the actuals with the forecast values and planning values. Thanks.
Super. I've got a question. Maybe Guillem, you can assist us with. Can we have different types of distribution? So is it possible? Is it possible to choose whether you want to spread the amount evenly, or whether you want to aggregate?
I think it's aggregate on existing contributions.
Contributions. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Well, sure. We can do that because basically the calculations are being done in Qlik. So what happens? Let me just quickly go back here. I know I have already tried to share my screen again, but it's going to work hopefully right away. There we go. So every time we click save, it will store the data in a database. It could be a QVD, an XML file, but basically what we do, we use Qlik or the Qlik engine to manipulate the data. We do some group bys, and it's all about Qlik. In this case, these distributions are not based on Infinity itself, because we are using Qlik to do the manipulations with the data and just write it back in forms. We have another example here. So as you said, probably you want to know if you want to distribute that evenly. If I click here in this other button, I can change the distribution for each one of these countries and products. So in this example, this will add up to 100%. But if I want to change that, like dumbbells would receive 15%, exercise ball 10%. If I do like a top-down distribution, so we can do that. I can even show you France here, for example. If I just filter the country. So you can see that exercise ball has no values. It's all 0. This is because the distribution here is also 0 for that specific value. But this is something that it's totally customizable. We just use Qlik to do the calculations and bring it back in Infinity.
Guys, I'm conscious we've probably got 1 minute left. I think the clock is ticking, and the webinar might actually end in less than 1 minute. So we probably need to just wrap it up and just say, if you ask questions, Caroline, I know we've spoken recently. Thank you for your question. We'll actually come back to you outside of this. So maybe, Richard, we can wrap it up. I think the webinar might end in 30 seconds.
Super great. Thank you, everyone, for joining. If there are any questions, how to contact us to do business in South Africa, please have a look at our web page, or please contact me direct. We've got great solutions, with our partners, our lead partners in country, ready to assist and help with any opportunity you have.
Great stuff. And equally, if you have anything in EMEA or the Americas, contact me. Great stuff.
Super.
Thank you, everybody. I think we're probably at time. So, it's letting us continue. It's letting us continue. We might be okay for just a minute or so. So, Martin, chance your hand and say something quickly before we get shut down.
I would actually leverage this, because the one who stays after time, that means is really interested. So if we have some questions that we can answer, I would maybe encourage you to maybe ask the questions and we can answer. We can keep on, for 5 minutes.
Let's see if we can keep going until we get shut down, right?
Until we get shut down. We probably will not get shut down. the technology will be kind. The gods of webinars will be friendly towards us, hopefully.
So, Richard, we've got a bunch of questions coming, and this is great. So, yeah, let's go for some more.
Another question: when budgeting, people often use the same portion of the totals for each of the 12 months. Would this be possible to do as an automatic thing in Infinity rather than entering the amount manually or copy paste in each month, i.e. £120, and use a function in Infinity to assign a £10 per month in that line?
Yeah, with custom actions, we can do all sorts of calculations and just put the values in the columns. So yeah, we can certainly find a way to customize to get the point that you want to do.
Caroline, I think you have my email address. If you want us to have another quick call, just drop me a line and we can set up a meeting and we can jump on and show you how we can do that. Happy to do that, no problem at all.
Just quickly on our budgeting, we take a snapshot. So we say September, and we automatically copy the actuals up to September and then the forecast to year end. And we pick a date and we click, post to budget, and that becomes the starting point of the 2024 budget. So then people just tweak that, add dummy codes, but they have a starting point, which is the actuals. So it's just another way.
Got another quick question. How many people can work in one application or one write-back table at the same time? How do you handle concurrency issues?
Well, I'll take this one. So our team has already tried and done multiple tests. We don't have like a delimitation. And the way we handle concurrency issues is basically by locking the fields where the other users are editing. So I don't know if you had the time to look at when I was showing the other application, but basically when you have multiple people working in the same table, you will see where they are at. So if someone is changing one row in another session, you won't be able, or anyone will not be able to change that specific record until they click save. After that, the row is released and people can start editing it again.
And the good thing here is also that you have the instant refresh of all these values. So once these values are updated by someone, you see these updates immediately without having to wait for the reload of the model, which is super important in these cases because you just can't wait for an hour to continue with your editing. You have to do it right now, just like when you're editing in Google spreadsheets or something, right? You have to see the changes immediately. And our goal is to actually replace spreadsheets, right? De-Excelize the company with something more governed. So that's why the functionality is there.
And guys, I actually recently asked our support team, have we ever had a support case where data has been corrupted through concurrent users hitting the same record? And they checked their database and the answer is no, never. In 6 years, we've never had anyone have a problem with corrupted data caused by Infinity. So the way it works seems to be doing a very good job of preventing that. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Got another question. Would there be a rolling forecast and not the norm of 12 months, but extended to 15 months?
Yeah, we can create rolling forecasts for as many months as we want. We have companies that are forecasting until 2038, and true. So there's no limit for the number of columns. There is no limit for basically anything. You can customize and you can create your own spreadsheet, let's say, inside Forms, and just centralize everything in Qlik. So users can just add the numbers, and we're good to go.
And this is the beauty of Infinity, that it is not rigid in terms of that it will restrict you in certain way or with certain features. So it's basically customizable. This is a big advantage of the tool.
Yeah.
One more question. Maybe Brian, maybe you can help with this one. What was the performance like? With this in Dawn Meets? And once this had been implemented, how was the performance affected?
Yeah, pretty good. Obviously there's the live data that comes on screen, but then some of the analysis tabs need a reload, say, to bring in actuals. But because it's in Qlik and we have the data kind of pre-prepared, you can still work on screen, and then it will just update, and it might take, I don't know, 10 seconds maybe to bring back the actuals. But you know, the tasks themselves run in a couple of minutes. On screen, we've limited it to 75 rows and 52 columns. Just when someone tried to put 252 on screen, there was maybe a slight delay when they were trying to enter the data. So we went to 50, and it was super fast, but maybe not enough flexibility. So we've settled to 75 rows, 52 columns, as a kind of a sensible metric that people can still, it doesn't take too long to refresh the screen and people can kind of work away. But yeah, we haven't had any performance issues. We haven't had any, you know, like the SQL database itself is pretty tidy. There's only a couple of key tables in there. Yeah, it's been pretty good.
Super.
And
Thank you.
just to add a comment, it's good to know about that. But there are some companies that we have that have very large apps that takes like 3-5 minutes to reload, and when they want to load the data back, it would take normally the same time. But we also have the partial reload in case someone in the audience is thinking, well, but I have very large apps. We can do a partial reload, so just bring the data from the QEDs. You don't have to reload everything again. So it's another thing that Infinity also has. So you can do just a partial and refresh only a section of the data.
And to have a complete story, we also support server-side extensions in terms of refreshing of the values on Qlik objects. So values from Infinity Forms table can be automatically taken into the Qlik chart, Qlik graph, whatever it is, through the server-side extension functionality without reloading the model.
Great. Well, I think thank you everyone for taking the time and attending. And if there are any additional questions, you know, I'll definitely get to them and together with the team. And yeah, thank you so very much.
Fantastic.
All right.
Thank
Cheers,
you,
guys.
everybody. Speak again soon.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye-bye.